Good morning. Morning came early, didn't it? Still not awake, I think. I had a dear friend. He was a priest. He was the priest who officiated our wedding. He was the priest who supported me through the ordination process when I was first ordained and had a small rural church. He was the priest in the big church in the city who was my mentor and my confidant and who talked me down when I needed talking down. And his name was Bo. And we just passed the 10th anniversary of his death. And I still can't believe that he's gone. He's one of those people where when something funny happens or something terrible happens, I think, oh, I have to call Bo. And then I have to remember again that I can't call Bo. But one of the things that made Bo just an amazing person was he was a great storyteller. He told the best stories. And so I want to tell you one of Bo's stories. So when he was first ordained, he was a priest in the Diocese of Georgia. And so this is one of the stories that he brought out of the Diocese of Georgia. A little backstory. Today, when the Episcopal Church, when it's time to elect a bishop, it's like a 1.5-year process, and we have committees, and we have people that take surveys of the churches and people in the churches. What are you looking for? What do you want in a bishop? And then a search committee is put together, and they receive names and resumes from all over the country, and they do interviews, and they do visits, and then the search committee whittles it down to 3, 4, 5 good candidates, and then those candidates are put up for election. That is not how it was done in the good old days. In the good old days, everyone just gathered together, usually on a Saturday morning, and they said, "Are there any nominations for bishop?" And someone would be like, I nominate Mike to be bishop. And then someone would say, I nominate Jackson to be bishop. And they would put the names up on a board, and then they would start electing. And in the Diocese of Georgia, they had this election, and they started, writing up names. But no one was getting elected. No one was getting the majority vote. They would vote, and no one would get a majority, and they'd vote again. No one would get a majority. And so eventually, someone put the name into nomination, a priest from New York City. And he got elected. And as Bo tells the story, not only had this priest never been to the South, he had never been south of Battery Park. But when the Lord calls, I sort of envision him packing up his 2 suitcases and just, and heading off to Georgia. And I don't know if he hired a car or if he took the bus or a train or whatever, but back in those days, it was a journey to Georgia. And so in his first night in the South, I'm imagining probably this is like Virginia or something. He gets a room for the night, wakes up in the morning, and he's hungry, as you are, and so he goes to the Greasy Spoon for breakfast, and he orders whatever he orders, right? He orders bacon and eggs. And then his breakfast gets brought to him, and on the plate is bacon and eggs and this pile of white goo. And I love cheesy grits. It's so good. But the bishop-elect had no idea what this white pile of goo was all about. And so he called the waitress back over and said, "Ma'am, what is this?" And as Bo tells the story, she said, "Oh, them's grits." And the bishop-elect said, "I didn't order grits." And the waitress said, "Oh, you don't order grits. They just come." And so Bo would tell the story anytime he needed to talk about grace, the grace of God. Because grace, like grits, just come. Just come. In New Testament Greek, the word for grace is the word charis. charis. It's where we get the word charity from. And in Greek, it means grace. It is also the word for gift. Gift and grace are the same thing. Grace is gift, and gift is grace. And so it's been typical for the church to talk about grace as gift. And grace, redemption, salvation, the love of God is not something that we earn. It is not something that has been deserved. It is an unmerited gift. If it was something that we deserved or earned, it wouldn't be a gift. It would be payment, right? Some of us have jobs, and some of us get paychecks from those jobs. And hopefully, we are grateful that we have a job and grateful that we get this paycheck, because not everyone does. But every time your employer direct deposits into your bank account, you don't have to write a thank you note, right? Because you earned it. There was an agreement that you're going to do this job for X number of hours a week, and for that you are going to be compensated X amount of dollars. You earned it. You deserved it. A gift is not like that. When we speak about gifts and grace, we typically speak of them as completely unearned and undeserved, and that nothing is asked in return. And those statements are about 90% true. But there's 10% that's where it's not quite right. And I think that there's some, it's helpful to look at that 10%. So a gift is something that is unmerited and undeserved. But it doesn't mean that there's nothing prior to giving or receiving a gift. It would be odd if you were just walking around town or going through Target and someone came up to you and said, "My great-grandfather gave this to me, and he handed it down, and I'm giving it to you, stranger." Something would be off. Something would be weird there. You would think someone was having like an episode like this. You don't accept something like that from a stranger. However, if you had a best friend, your best friend in the whole world, that came to you and said, "This was my great-grandfather's, and it was passed down through the family, and I want you to have it," that would be an incredibly special and moving thing, right? It's not that anything was earned or deserved for this gift to be handed over, but there was a prior relationship. There was a love that was already there. We didn't do anything to deserve or earn the grace that God gives us, but there was a relationship already there. God made us. God loved us. God called us his children. And so when God comes with the gift of the life of his son, it doesn't come just from out of nowhere. It comes from the love that a father has for his children. That relationship was already there. And you can't overstress this point. I'm leading a book group at Fellowship Village right now it's a book about the Bible. And one of the points of the author is that in the ancient world, in the other religions that were going on around the time that the Bible was written, the other religions, their their gods were not for you. They were not on your side. At best, they were indifferent to you. At worst, they were against you and had to be convinced otherwise, which is why you always had to come with like another sacrifice and groveling and, oh, that sacrifice didn't do it, so I have to like maybe sacrifice a little bit more, and then maybe that God will send rain and God will be for me. The point of the author of the book we're reading is that when we meet the God of the Bible, it's the exact opposite. It's a God who is for us, who is on our side and always has been. And so when he offers the gift of grace, it's amazing. But it also follows an amazing kind of love. God is on your side. God has your back. And God has given you and me this gift of grace. So the other thing we say frequently is that when you give a gift, you should expect nothing in return. Like a free gift should just be that. I'm giving this to you. But we also know that isn't exactly true. Again, if I gave to Dawn this thing that my great-great-grandfather handed down through the family and I'm giving it to you, hopefully you're going to say, I couldn't possibly take this. But then I insist.
What can I give you for it?
Oh.
Can I do something for you?
You would want to do something in return, right? Like you would feel like they've given me this big thing. Perhaps I need to give a big thing back. There would probably also be like a thank you, right? Like, thank you. And when I, came back to Dawn like a year later and I said, how are you enjoying the gift? Hopefully Dawn would know where it's at. Or, yeah, so if you had hawked it, if I came back and said, how's that thing that my great-great-grandfather, oh, yeah, I sold that. Dawn! She didn't do it, people. It's all good. Never would. Right, so there is an expectation when you're given a big gift that you are going to be grateful, but also that you're going to honor the gift. And the honoring of the gift is an honoring of the relationship. And yes, when you hand a gift off, it's no longer yours, it's theirs. But that honoring of it still matters. When God gives us this gift that we did not merit or deserve, there is still a response that is appropriate and acceptable. And that is living with the same grace that God extended to us. At the very end of our lesson from Ephesians this morning, Paul says, for by grace, by gift, you have been saved through faith. And this is not your own doing. In other words, you didn't earn it. You didn't deserve it. You didn't, check off all the boxes. For we are what he has made us, created in Christ Jesus for good works, for good things, for love, for grace, for mercy, for forgiveness, for peace, for truth, which God prepared beforehand to be our way of life. We did not earn the gift of Jesus, but because God has given us the gift of Jesus, we are to live a certain way. We have received grace upon grace, and so we are to be gracious to those around us. Every week we pray the prayer, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. As I have been forgiven, so I'm going to be a forgiving person. As I have been loved, I am going to be a person of love. As I experience peace in my life, I'm going to extend that peace out around me. I've been given this great and precious thing. And in response, I'm going to live a life that is worthy of it. Grits just come. And God's grace just comes. And God's love for us comes and has always been there. But we have to decide what we are going to do with this great thing. That doesn't just come. We make it happen. Amen.